Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. Make sure to subscribe below so you'll be alerted for stakes previews like this or race of the day previews. I'm Gino Buccola alongside David Aragona. Right now, we are amidst the Black Friday sale at shop.drf.com. 20% off everything you need at shop.drf.com. Use that promo code BF2024 when doing so and take advantage all the way through December the 2nd of the Black Friday sale. We are thankful for all of you out there. We have such a great team at DRF, some of our producers, Lucia, Bobby, the people behind the scenes. We always want to make sure we say thank you to them as we get ready for the Fall Highweight. David, this race, the conditions changed a little bit of this one recently. I saw you talking about it on social media as we look at the field for the Fall Highweight.
Yeah, the Fall Highweight Handicap, as it had been known historically, is the Fall Highweight Stakes this year, as they've unfortunately removed that handicap condition. This used to be a fun throwback to the way racing used to be when handicap weights used to matter a lot. And even though the Fall Highweight doesn't hold the significance that it once did, I think you go back decades ago when it was one of the top sprint races in the country. Obviously, all that's changed since the advent of the Breeders' Cup, but still was run up to as a handicap up until last year. They changed the weights to allowance conditions this year, and it's all a pet peeve of mine. I hate allowance conditions in stakes races. It tends to reward horses that don't really deserve it. And in this race, Giant Mischief, who probably would have been the high weight if this race was done as a traditional handicap, he gets in as the low weight with allowance conditions.
9-5 on the outside for Giant Mischief. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. Super Chow is very quick. Dean Delivers wants to be forward in here. Top Gunner has some versatility. Then you have a total wildcard horse like Baby Yoda, who's certainly capable of being really quick when he feels like running, when he feels like showing up. He can get in the mix there with some fast horses. So does it surprise you to see a fast pace projected here?
No, it doesn't really surprise me, especially with the presence of Super Chow and Dean Delivers in particular. They're horses that do their best running when they can be forward, fighting it out on the front end. So I would imagine that those two will be the quickest of them all early, and then we'll see if anybody else can slot in behind them or apply some pressure. Any pace that does develop would suit a horse like the number 6 Runnin' Son of a Gun, who likes to launch from a little further behind, and he does have that LP flag showing up over his chiclet, indicating he has the highest Timeform US late pace rating in the field.
Let's meet this field and start with the one downtown, Charlie Brown, who's 0 for the last 7, and now has to step up and face a little tougher. You see, was behind Dean Delivers and Super Chow in some of those races, and they're probably not even his toughest competition in here. Plus, the rail draw won't really be easy with his running style, where he has speed, but he doesn't mind sitting a little bit off of it. He may not be the absolute fastest. What do you think about downtown Charlie Brown?
Yeah, he's going to have to take some kind of step forward, and you wonder how much upside there really is for this 5-year-old gelding in his 36th lifetime start. Hasn't won in a little while, and he ran okay last time at Keeneland, was wide on the turn, but still, that was weaker company than he's facing here, so would need to do better.
Super Chow was part of a 4-way battle early on in the Park Sprint most recently, going a little bit farther than where he's best. 6.5. You can see he starts to get a little bit tired there. He's done most of his best work at 6 furlongs, where he's a 7-time winner. And he likes Aqueduct. We saw on the pace projector, he's definitely one of the quicker in here. He actually won 3 graded stakes races throughout the year in spots that would be probably pretty comparable to this one.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder where he is right now, because he
Yeah.
was running some big speed figures back in the first half of the year, and just feels like his last couple of efforts have been a cut below what we've grown accustomed to seeing from him. He actually got into a duel with today's pace rival, Dean Delivers, 2 back in that 6 furlong event at Delaware, was outdueled by that foe, kind of shortening stride across the wire. Even though their pace was quick last time in that Park Sprint, I was hoping to see him show a little bit more to hang on for a piece of it. Drawn inside of Dean Delivers, I just think he's in kind of a difficult spot today.
Number 3, Baby Yoda. Grogu has been one of the more enigmatic horses over the last few years, because when he shows up, he's capable of throwing in a 114 Beyer speed figure. He might have 4 or 5 races on his page that would be good enough to beat this group if he showed up and just put forth that same type of effort. The concern with him always, David, is we just don't know when we're going to get those efforts. It's not even like he's a horse for course that much, because he's run well at Aqueduct, he's run well at Saratoga, he's run well in different tracks. It's just, when does he feel like running? He's a horse who's kind of an interesting one, because he may be offering you a little bit of value in this race because he's such a hot, cold horse. He's so hard to really trust, but he's another one that's certainly capable with a big effort on his best day of beating this group.
Yeah, Baby Yoda does seem to go in and out of form without much warning, and sometimes he'll get back to those big efforts from the past, and other times he'll just run like a horse that might be destined for claiming races. Seems like he's in that latter rut at the moment as his speed figures have been declining, but he is a horse that is just tough to totally dismiss or be so against, especially at a big price, because you do know in the back of your mind that the good Baby Yoda could just randomly show up again.
I'm hoping he can get a trip in here where he can maybe sit just behind some of the speeds, maybe third. I think he can pass horses a little bit in a spot like this. Let's move to 24 Mamba. Oh, for the last 6, multiple graded stakes placed, but he's been well beaten by Run Son of a Gun, Baby Yoda, Super Chow, horses that are probably higher contenders in this spot than him. So just feels like his recent form isn't quite good enough against a group like this.
Yeah, this is a horse that I've been a fan of in the past. He, I thought, was in very good form earlier this year, winning back-to-back allowance races. And they've tried Stakes Company a number of times over the past few months. I think his most recent race in the Bold Ruler was the best performance he's given against Stakes Company, but he still was 5 lengths behind today's rival, Running Son of a Gun. So he would have to find improvement that we haven't seen from him yet.
Dean delivers as a grade 3 winner. He set the pace in the slop, going 7 furlongs in the Vosburg last time out. He can sit off horses a little bit, but he wants to be forwardly placed. He doesn't want to be too far out of it. So you figure he's another one that's going to be in the mix here early on, and probably making this a pretty quick early pace.
Yeah, I like that he's drawn outside of Super Chow, so we can press that run from the outside, potentially sit second, and maybe get into a duel with him. And he's shown that he's a horse that does have the grit to prevail when he really has to bear down. We saw that too back in that Rumson Stakes when it looked on the turn like he was going to finish off the board. He got passed by rivals to his outside, but once they got into the straightaway and was set down, he found another gear to battle back and gut out the victory. Not so last time in the Vosburg, but that was going 7 furlongs. I was looking up the results that day to see if maybe being right down on the rail wasn't where the best path for horses, but it seemed like a fair track, even though it was sloppy. Couldn't really find the major excuse for him. Maybe he's tailing off a little bit, but his best race does give him a shot.
Running Son of a Gun, the number 6, is a multiple graded stakes winner, was put up via DQ last time out in the Bold Ruler, and those are his last 2 graded stakes wins. The Bold Ruler in 2024, the Bold Ruler back in 2022. That was actually a co-top career buyer speed figure for him. And with his running style, he should at least be passing some horses in here because that's what he wants to do, kind of sit back and then make that one late run.
Yeah, this was a painful one
I
for me to
didn't want to
watch.
say it, David. I didn't even want to remind you because I know you liked my buddy B here, but this is what we do as horse players, right? This is misery. We have to watch it again.
Yeah, you've got to relive these to move on and turn the page from these races. But yeah, I thought this was a questionable call. My buddy B showed a lot of grit to the wire to hold off Running Son of a Gun. They did sort of brush a little bit right there at the 16th pole. The stewards decided to reverse it, which I guess I kind of get, the margin being as close as it was. But Running Son of a Gun, I think the point to make with him is he's finally gotten back to that form that we saw from him going all the way back to the end of 2022 when he had gotten so good at the end of his 3-year-old season for John Toscano. Was kind of just, running races that were well below par for him for the early part of this year, but something has changed for him the last couple of months, and he showed it in that allowance race 2 back, took another step forward last time. Pace that develops here is going to suit a horse like this. The one problem is 16 to 1 last time, going to be maybe a quarter of that price in this race. So I feel like he's a horse that you wanted to have when he was the big price and not this time, but I won't be surprised when he's closing well at the end.
Witty is a multiple stakes winner on turf and on dirt is a stakes winner. Grade 2 placed. Has always been just a cut below graded stakes quality, but it's been a solid stakes horse over the last few years on both surfaces. What do you think about Witty in this particular spot?
Yeah, I mean, you don't finish in the exacta in 19 of 27 starts by accident. This horse does show up and run well under a variety of circumstances. He's been campaigned primarily on turf recently, but I think he reminded connections that he's just fine on the dirt when he got back on that surface last time, making a really impressive close from last to first to get up to win that race. The field that he was beating was certainly a cut below the company that he's facing here. And even when he's been at his very best on the dirt, he's not running speed figures that quite stack up with the shorter prices in this race. So if pace develops, he'll be running on. I just wonder if it's going to be for a minor award.
Top Gunner was a popular claim box item, was moving from Good Barn to Good Barn. And then Brad Cox claimed this one and put him in the Parks Sprint, won that race, and went into the Bold Ruler at 5-2 as one of the major players. he stumbled a little bit at the start, but he recovered pretty quickly, and he was in a great stalking spot. He was just behind the leader. I was a little disappointed with that effort from him. He really just didn't show much fight after sitting, just off the leaders in here. Do you think he can bounce back in this spot and get something closer to that Park sprint effort where he was very good and I think earned a 95 Beyer speed figure in winning?
Yeah, he was disappointing last time because Brad Cox horses that look logical on paper and go off at 5-2 in stakes like that, they're supposed to show up, and he just didn't really deliver his A effort that day. I will say he seemed to sort of get back to form when they changed up his running style and were taking him a little bit off the pace, holding him up behind horses, and then making a run in the stretch. And that was not the trip that they elected to deliver last time when he was ridden a bit more aggressively to stalk on the front end and just couldn't really see it out to the wire. Maybe they get back to the stalking tactics here, sitting just behind horses like Super Chow and Dean Delivers, and maybe that's going to work a little better for him. But even if it does, I feel like his ceiling might be a cut below some others in here.
Giant Mischief rounds out the field, and he just feels like a great fit in this spot. Everything seems really logical for him. His body of work has been good. You can look through, and the only race that you can really say was disappointing was in the Rebel, which was the longest race of his career, and it was a race on a sloppy racetrack. So multiple excuses for that race. We can just put a line right through it. Everything else has been good. He was put on the front end last time out, David, but he's not a need the lead horse. I think they just thought this was the best horse coming off a layoff. Let's not get cute. Let's just get out front and build some fitness here. And the horse that he beat, Kavad, came back to win next time out at Churchill Downs, a non-winners of 3 with a 91 Beyer speed figure. I mean, he's grade 1 placed. There's a lot of things to like about him in here, except for the price.
Yeah, and Kavad did not just give this horse a free ride on the front end last time. I know the first quarter was slow, but they ran some fast interior fractions as Kavad just kind of turned it into a match race around the far turn as the two of them were dueling and opened up a large margin on the rest of the field. And Giant Mischief was good enough to turn that rival away. Kavad flattering that form by coming back to win, but multiple horses have come back out of that race to all run well in their subsequent starts. So feels like the form is fine coming out of that optional claiming race at Keeneland. He is cross-entered in the Thanksgiving Classic on Thursday at Fairgrounds, but our colleague Marcus Hirsch was reporting that he is expected to run here instead, so likely to see him in New York. Drawn well outside, has that good tactical running style, and he gets in with just 128 pounds, where some horses that are less accomplished are carrying 133, so I think that's just another feather in his cap, and to me, he makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he just fits really well here. Let's take a look at the selections. I thought he was the horse to beat, David. I put him in second, and the only horse who I put in front of him was a horse who has really high upside, might be a horse who you could bet in this spot because he's tailed off form recently. I throw Baby Yoda on top for some value here, but completely understand anyone who just thinks Giant Mischief is too tough for this group.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see the trip for Baby Yoda in this race, but I'm not going to be too hard on a double-digit long shot in stakes at Aqueduct, especially that you're giving out, Gino, after liking that 20-1 winner of the Stallion Series Stakes last weekend. So Baby Yoda is going to be a price in this race. I just chalked it out with the number 9 Giant Mischief, who seems to fit this race really well, as you were noting, is drawn on the outside, so can work out any kind of trip that Manny Franco wants, and just feels like he's finding the right spot.
Well, what better to do on Black Friday to sit back to play some races and make sure to take advantage of that Black Friday sale that we have for you. Hope you all have a great holiday weekend.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.